Hey guys, my name is Kurayami and welcome back to another chapter of Redeeming Love. We were on chapter 5, and last time Michael and Angel got a little bit closer to each other, but Michael kind of gave up, so let's see what happens in chapter 5. The storm lasted for days. The rain streaked the glass like tears, washing the grid away and making watery images of the outside world. Angel worked and slept and looked out over the shanties, clapboard buildings, and sagging canvas tents lit by 1,000 lanterns until dawn. No green anywhere, just gray and browns. Henry would be serving breakfast now, but she wasn't hungry, and she didn't feel like sitting with the others and listening to their squabbles and complaints. The rain came harder and faster. With it came memories. She used to play a game with her mother on rainy day afternoons. Any time it rained, it drew cold in the shanty, too cold for anyone who didn't have to be there. The men stayed away, warming themselves with the comfortable tavern. Rab stayed with him. Mama would set Sarah on her lap and wrap the blanket around both of them. Sarah had grown into like storms because then she had Mama all to herself. They would watch the large drops on the glass pane touch and grow and finally slide down into a river on the frame. Mama talked to her about when she was a child. Just the happy things, the good times. Mama never spoke of being turned away by her father. She never spoke of Alex Stafford. But whenever she was quiet, Sarah knew Mama was remembering and hurting all over again. Mama would hug her hard and rock her and hum. "Things will be different for you, darling," she would say and kiss her. "Things will be different for you, you'll see." And Angel had seen. She stopped thinking about the past. She let the curtain drop back in place and sat down at the small, lace-covered table. She stuffed the memories down again. Better the hollow nothingness than the pain. Hosea won't come back. Not this time. She closed her eyes tightly, her small hand a fist in her lap. Why did she think about him at all? Come away with me and be my wife. Sure, till he tired of her and gave her to someone else. Like Duke, like Johnny. Life never changes. She lay down on her bed and covered her face with a pale satin sheet. She remembered the man sewing the shroud closed over her mother's stiffly smiling face and felt empty inside. Whenever hope had once been inside her had drained away. There was nothing left to hold her together. She was caving in. "I'll make it on my own," she said into the silence around her, and could almost hear Duke laughing. "Sure you can, Angel, just like last time." Someone knocked on her door, jerking her back from her dark memories. "Can I come in, Angel?" Angel welcomed Lucky. She reminded her of Mama, except Lucky drank to be happy. Mama drank to forget. Lucky wasn't drunk right now, but she was holding a bottle and 2 glasses. "You've been keeping to yourself lately," Lucky said, sitting in the bed with her. "Are you all right? You're not sick or anything, are you?" "I'm fine," Angel said. "You didn't have breakfast with us." Lucky set the bottle and glasses on the side table. "I wasn't hungry." "You're not sleeping well either. You got shadows under your eyes. You're just feeling sad, aren't you?" Lucky gently stroked Angel's hair back. "Well, it happens to the best of us. Even an old harlot like me." She liked Angel, and she worried about her. Angel was so young and so hard. She needed to learn to laugh a little at the cards she had been dealt. She was beautiful, and that would always come in handy in business. Lucky liked to look at her. Angel was a rare flower in this weed patch, something special. Others didn't like her because of it. Because Angel didn't mingle, she was self-possessed. Lucky was the only one allowed close, but there were rules. She could talk about anything except men and God. She never stopped to wonder or ask why. She was grateful Angel allowed her to be a friend. Angel was especially quiet today, her lovely face pale and drawn. "I brought a bottle and 2 glasses. Would you want to try drinking again?" Maybe it won't turn out so bad this time. We'll go slower. No, Angel shuddered. Are you sure you're not sick? Sort of, I guess. She was sick of living. I was thinking about my mother. It was the first mention of anything from Angel's past, and Lucky was honored to be trusted with even a tidbit. It was a great mystery among all the girls where Angel had come from. I didn't know you had a mother. Angel smiled wearily. Maybe I didn't really. Maybe it was just my imagination. You know, I didn't mean it that way. I know. Angel stared up at the ceiling. It's just that sometimes I really do wonder. Had there ever been a cottage with flowers all around and the scent of roses drifting through the parlor window? Had her mother ever really laughed and sang and run with her across the meadows? Lucky touched her brow. You're feverish. I have a headache. It'll go away. How long have you had it? Ever since the farmer started pestering me. Has he been back? No. I think he was in love with you. Are you sure you didn't go away with him? Angel tightened up inside. No, he's just a man like all the rest. You want me to leave you alone? Angel took Lucky's hand and held onto it. No. She didn't want to be alone. Now when she had been thinking about the past, it couldn't seem to push it away. Now when death was all that was on her mind, it was the rain, the constant battering rain. She was going mad. They sat silent for a long while. Lucky poured herself a drink. Tension rippled through Angel as she remembered Mama's drinking herself into oblivion. She remembered Mama's grief and guilt and the endless weeping. She remembered Cleo, drunk and bitter, raging against life and telling her God's truth about men. Lucky wasn't Mama or Cleo. She was funny and uninhibited, and she liked to talk. Familiar words flowed like balm. If Angel could just listen to Lucky's life story, she might be able to forget her own. My mother ran off when I was 5, like you said. Have I told you all this? Tell me again. My aunt took me in. She was a fine lady. Her name was Miss Priscilla Lantry. She gave up marrying a fine young man because her father was ill and needed her. She nursed the old miser for 15 years before he died. He wasn't even cold in his grave when my loving mother dumped me on her doorstep with a note. It said, "This is Bonnie," and it was signed Sharon. She laughed. Aunt Pris didn't much like having the idea of having a child to raise, especially a cast-off from her no-good sister. Everyone in the neighborhood thought she was a saint for taking me in. She poured another glass of whiskey. She said she was going to make sure I grew up proper and not like my mother. If she didn't use a switch on me at least twice a day, she didn't feel like she was doing her duty. Spare the rod, spoil the child. Lucky plunked the bottle on this side of the table and pushed her dark hair back from her flushed face. She drank. Not like I did. She did everything proper. She just sipped. Not whiskey, mind you. Madria. Fine Madria. She'd start in the morning, sip here, a sip there. It looked like liquid gold in her pretty crystal glass. She was so mellow and sweet when the neighbors came to call. She giggled. They thought she had such a charming lisp. She sighed and swirled the amber fluid in her glass. Meanest woman I ever knew. Meaner than the Duchess. As soon as the guests were out the door and off in their fine carriages, she was starting on me. She began to mimic an elegant southern drawl. You didn't curtsy when Mrs. Abernethy came in. You took 2 biscuits from the tray when I said to take only 1. The schoolmaster said you didn't do your arithmetic yesterday. Lucky drank half her whiskey, and then she would make me sit and wait while she searched for just the right switch to cut from the willow tree. It had to be thick as her pointer finger. She held her whiskey glass up to the lamp and looked through it before she emptied it. She went to tea one afternoon with the parson's wife. They were going to discuss my enrollment in the Young Ladies' Academy. While she was gone, I chopped the tree down. It flattened the roof and fell right in the middle of her fancy parlor. Smashed all her fine crystal. I ran away before she came back. She laughed softly. Sometimes I wish I had stayed long enough to see the look on her face when she came home. She held the empty glass and stared at it. And sometimes I wish I could go back and tell her I'm sorry. She took her bottle and stood, her eyes glazed. I better go to bed and get my beauty sleep. Angel caught her hand. Lucky, try not to drink so much. Duchess was just talking about kicking you out if you don't slow down on the booze. Don't you worry about me, Angel, Lucky said, smiling bleakly. Last I heard, there was still 1 woman to 20 men out here. The odds are definitely in my favor. You watch out for yourself, Magawan hates you. Magawan is a worthless piece of horse dung. True, but Duchess has a thing for him, and he's been telling her you're lazy and insolent. Just watch out for yourself, please. Angel didn't care. What was the difference? Men will still come to pay and play until the decent woman arrived. They'd treat her like mama. They would pretend they didn't know her when they passed by her on the street. The good woman would turn away while the children gawked and asked who she was, only to be cuffed into silence. She would still have work, after dark of course, until she wasn't pretty anymore, or was too sick to be appealing. If only she could be like one of those mountain men who went up into the wilderness and stayed there, hunting their food, building their own shelter, and never having to answer to another living soul for anything. Just to be left alone. That must be heaven. She got up and went to the washstand. Pouring water into the bowl, she washed her face, but the coolness gave her no relief. She held the towel over her eyes for a long time. Then she sat at the small table beside the window and looked through the curtain. She saw an empty buckboard in the street below and thought of Hosea. Why did she have to think of him now? What if I had gone with him? Would things have been different? She reminded herself of the one time she had run away with a man. At 14, she had still been too inexperienced to recognize Johnny's ambitions. He'd been looking for a meal ticket, and she wanted to get away from Duke. As it turned out, neither of them got what they wanted. She closed her eyes tightly at the horror of what Duke had done when he had them brought back. Poor Johnny. She had been fine before that farmer had come. He was just like Johnny. He held out hope as bait, painted images of freedom and promised it to her. Well, she stopped believing in the lies. She had stopped believing in the freedom. She stopped dreaming about it until Hosea came. Now she couldn't get it out of her mind. She clutched the curtain. I've got to get out of here. She didn't even care where. Anything else was better. She earned enough gold by now to build a little house for her own and quit working for a while. All she needed was the courage to go down and demand it from the Duchess. She knew the risk, but it didn't seem to matter anymore. Pitt, the bartender, was polishing and stacking shot glasses while she came downstairs. Morning, Miss Angel. You want to go for your walk? You want me to see if I can find bread for you? Her courage faltered. No. You hungry? Harry just put something together for the Duchess. Maybe food would staunch the queasiness. She nodded, and he left the glass and went out the door at the end of the bar. When he came back, he said, Henry will bring something out in a minute, Angel. A small, dark Frenchman brought a tray and uncovered a plate of fried potatoes and bacon. Coffee was lukewarm. He made his apologies and said supplies were low. Angel couldn't eat anyways. She tried, but the food stuck in her throat. She sipped the coffee instead and tried to drown her fear. But it was there like a hard knot inside her chest. Pitt watched her. Something wrong, Angel? No, nothing's wrong. She might as well get it done. Pushing her plate back, she got up. The Duchess's quarters were on the first floor behind the casino. Angel stood before the heavy oak door, her palms sweating. She wiped her hands on her skirt and took a deep breath and knocked. "Who's there?" "Angel." "Come in." The Duchess was dabbing her mouth delicately, and Angel saw the remains of a cheese omelet on her dressing plate. One egg was worth $2, and cheese was very hard to come by at any price. She couldn't even remember the last time she had an egg. The deceitful cow. Fear lessened as resentment grew. The Duchess smiled. "Why aren't you sleeping? You look dreadful. Are you upset about something?" "You've been working me too hard." "Nonsense. You're just in one of your moods again." She smoothed the flowing red silk of her lounging gown. It did little to conceal the rolls of flesh gathering around her waist. Her cheeks were puffy, and she developed a second chin. A pink ribbon held her graying hair back. She was obscene. "Sit down, darling. I can see you have something unpleasant on your mind. Brett told me you wouldn't come down for breakfast. Would you like something now?" Duchess waved an indolent hand magnanimously at the basket of muffins. "I want my gold." The Duchess didn't look at the least surprised. She laughed and leaned forward to pour herself more coffee. She added cream. Angel wondered where she'd gotten it and how much it had cost. Duchess lifted the elegant cup and sipped while studying her over the rim. "Why do you want it?" she asked, as though merely curious. "Because it belongs to me." The Duchess gave her a bland, amused look of maternal tolerance. "Pour yourself some coffee, and let's talk about it." "I don't want any coffee, and I don't want to talk about it. I want my gold, and I want it now." The Duchess tilted her head slightly. "You might ask a little more politely. Did you have an annoying customer last night?" When Angel didn't answer, the Duchess' eyes narrowed. She put the cup back over the saucer. "Why do you need your gold, Angel? What is there to buy up here? More fripperies?" Her expression was amused again, but her eyes held warning. "Tell me what you want, and I'll try to see you have it. Unless it's something completely out of the question, of course. Like eggs and cream, like freedom." "I want a little house of my own," Angel said. The Duchess's face changed, darkening. "So you can go into business for yourself? Are you getting ambitious, my dear?" "You'll have no competition from me, I assure you. I'll be 100 miles from here. I just want out. I want to be left alone." The Duchess sighed and gave her a pitying look. "Angel, we all go through these silly notions. Take it from me. You can't quit. It's too late." She leaned forward and set her cup and saucer down again. "I take good care of you, don't I? If you have reasonable complaints, of course, I'll hear you out. But I can't just let you walk away. This is wild country. You wouldn't be safe out there on your own. All kinds of dreadful things can happen to a pretty girl when she's on her own." Her eyes glittered. "You need someone to look after you." Angel tipped her chin slightly. "I could always hire a bodyguard." Duchess laughed now. "Someone like Brett? I don't think you like him the way I do." "I could get married." "Married?" She laughed. "You? Oh, that's rich." "I've been asked." "Oh, I'm sure you've been asked. Even your drunk little friend Lucky has been asked, but she's also smart enough to know it would never work. A man doesn't want a harlot for a wife. Men say all kinds of foolish things when they're lonely and aching for a woman, and there's no one else around. But they come to their senses quick enough. Besides, you wouldn't like it. At least I'd only be working for one man." Duchess smiled. "How would you like to wash a man's dirty long johns and cook his meals and clean out his chamber pot? How would you like to do all that and then have to give him whatever he wanted besides? How would you like that? Or maybe you would have some idea he would let you lie around all day and have servants come and take care of everything. In another place, you might have managed that. but not here in California. And certainly not now. You would have been smarter to stay where you were. Angel was silent. The Duchess's mouth curved. The trouble comes from you thinking too much of yourself, Angel. She shook her head. Sometimes you girls make me feel as though I'm dealing with spoiled children. All right, my dear, let's get to the point of this little visit, shall we? How much more do you want? 30%? I just want what I've earned, now. Duchess sighed heavily. All right, then, if that's the way it has to be. But you'll have to wait. I've invested in it for you. Angel sat very still, frustration and rage building. She clenched her hands. Uninvest it. I know you have enough gold in your safe right now to square with me. She gestured to the platter. You have enough to buy eggs and cheese and cream for yourself. She cupped her hands and made up a shape. A sack about this big is all I expect. One of the men you sent my way last night was an accountant. He made a few calculations for me. Duchess glared at her. You, my dear, are speaking like an ungrateful fool. She stood with injured dignity. You're forgetting all I do for you. Costs aren't what they were when we started this little operation. Everything has gone up. Your clothing costs a fortune. Silk and lace are commonplace in a mining town, you know. Your food costs even more, and this building wasn't put up for free. Angel's resentment and bitterness had long since dissolved fear and rational thought. Is my name on the deed? The Duchess stopped. What did you say? You heard me. Is my name on the deed? Angel stood as well. Past control. You have cream for your coffee and eggs and cheese for breakfast. You dress in satin and lace. You even sip from fine china. She picked up a cup and smashed it against the wall. How many men have I served so you can stuff yourself like a pig and dress like a grotesque parody of a royalty? Duchess from where? Duchess of what? You're nothing but a fat old harlot no man wants anymore. The Duchess's face was white with rage. Angel's heart beat faster and faster. She hated her. You aren't charging 4 ounces of gold for my time anymore. How much is the toll these days? 6? 8? I should have earned enough by now to be free of this place. And if you haven't, the Duchess said very quietly. Angel jerked her chin up. Well, a smart girl would do real well for herself. The Duchess became very composed. A smart girl would never even consider speaking to me this way. Angel heard the danger and realized what she had done. She sank down slowly. Her heart was in her throat. The Duchess came over to her and touched her hair. After all I've done for you, she said grievously, you have a short memory about your first weeks in San Francisco, haven't you? She cupped Angel's chin and lifted her face. When I first saw you, you were still showing the marks of a rather nasty beating. You were living in a lousy shack and almost starving. Her fingers tightened painfully. I picked you up out of the mud and made you into something. You're a princess up here, she let go. A princess of what? She said bleakly. You're so ungrateful. I think Brett is right about you. You become spoiled with special treatment. Angel was shaking inside. Her unreasoning rage had evaporated. She took the Duchess's hand and pressed it against her cold cheek. Please, I can't stand any more of this. I've got to get out of here. Maybe you do need a change, the Duchess said, stroking Angel's hair. Let me think about it. Go upstairs now and rest. We'll talk later. Angel did as she was told. She sat on the end of her bed and waited. When Magellan walked in without knocking, Angel had her answer. She got up and backed away from him as he closed the door quietly. The Duchess said you had a lot to say to her a little while ago. Well, little dove, now it's my turn to do a little talking. When I'm done, you'll be as obedient as my Ling, and I'm going to enjoy it. I've been waiting for this for a long, long time, and you know it, don't you? Angel looked at the closed two-story window, then back at the locked door. You won't get past me. He took off his black coat. Angel's mind flashed back to the tall, dark man in the black evening suit. It came to her with a sudden finality that there was no way out. Not for her. There never had been. There never would be. Everywhere she turned, every time she tried, she was trapped again. Worse off than before. Don't worry. I won't leave any marks that'll show. You'll be working tonight, whether you feel up to it or not. Hopeless rage filled her. She remembered everything ever done to her from the time she was a child in the shack in the docks to now, in this room. It was never going to get any better. This is all she could ever expect of life. The world is full of dukes and duchesses and magawans and men who came to line up outside her door. There's always going to be someone to enslave her and use her, someone to profit from her flesh and her blood. There was one way out. Maybe she had always known it was the only way. She could feel it like a living presence in the room, a force standing beside her, dark and beckoning. And she was finally ready to embrace it. A few well-aimed words, and Magawan ended for her. She could finally be free, free forever. Magawan frowned at the look on her face. She didn't care. She wasn't afraid anymore. She was grinning at him. What's the matter with you? Her eyes glowed with bright and wild. She started to laugh. What are you laughing at? At you, big man. Duchess's pet dog. She laughed harder at the stunned expression on his face. Her laughter rose, stunned and strange and bright in her own ears. It was all so funny, so incredibly funny. Why hadn't she seen it before? Her whole life was a great big joke. Even when Magawan came at her, she couldn't stop laughing at it. Not on the first blow, or the second, or even the third. After the fourth blow, all Angel heard was a beast roaring in her ears. Alright guys, that is it for chapter 5. Angel's kind of lost her rocker there at the end, but hopefully she'll get it back. Tell me what you think in the comments down below. If you'd like to, consider subscribing or liking the video, but do whatever you want. I don't really care. And I'll see you for the next chapter. Bye guys.